Hello there, wonderful, magical, sexy people. This is Mihai. I had the COVID, so I had a free week off from my work, so I can film this and edit this and, read a bunch of books that are useful to you as my public. So, in the last period, I had a huge, huge amount of work to do, and I have to make the work my first priority. But now I'm back, hopefully, and I can do more things. Um, I am doing better things with your help, especially with my patrons' help. Because of your support, people from Patreon, I have bought this laptop, which was my main objective for the Patreon donations. But I do have some more things I can invest in. And I bought this microphone, which I have no idea how to use yet. And also, I bought this rather pricey but absolutely gorgeous book by my friend Dan Harms, which I will do a review of maybe after I bind it. I believe I will bind it first because I'd like to do a few episodes of books that I bind myself, which are not found as such in the trade, so I can present to you something that is more unique and is more worthy of a shelf of a bookbinder who deals in magic. Now, one of the videos, of course, you'll have guessed will be about the book of the four occult philosophers by Dan Harms, which is absolutely amazing. Who actually was in Romania and had sent me this copy personally. He was kind enough to do that because he's an incredible individual. And the second book I want to review would be, of course, David Rankin's Grimoire Encyclopedia, the 2 volumes. He was kind enough to send me with a bespoke dedication and bookplate, which is amazing. And yet another book I will be wanting to review, but of course after I bind it, would be one of the holy grails of my book collecting career, which is a rare edition of the Gateways Through Light and Shadow by my dear friend, brother Ashan Chasan, which is such an amazing book, and I can't wait to bind it in leather. We will get back to this binding thing, but right now we are going to discuss the main star of this episode, which is my own bound copy of a work of an individual I have highly admired and read from the old days of online ritual magic, which is the Faculty of Abrac by John R. King IV. Now, this you cannot buy this book. This is um, this is unobtainable. The book that you see cannot be bought. It was done by myself. It was bound in crimson, dark crimson leather by myself, and the lettering was done by myself, and the gilt and everything from the pages, which were printed by myself and sewn and bound and rounded, and the cover was put on. Everything is done by me, and it was done only for 2 copies. One for me, which have my heraldic device on the back, and one for John, which will be going to him hopefully as soon as possible. Now, these are volumes that I consider very valuable, not that the authors consider very valuable, or not that the public considers very valuable. It's not likely that if you write a book on magic, or if you write a book on demons, I will want to take your book and have 2 copies bound in leather for free, one for me, one for yourself. Now, these are very select volumes, so I did bind the Faculty of Abrac by John R. King, and I will bind the book by Dan Harms, and I will bind the book on by Frater Ashen Chassan, and I'm long overdue to do the same with the Sworn Book of Honorius and Book of Oberon for Joseph Peterson, who is the most patient man alive, and also the Arte Goetia. But right now we are going to deal with the Faculty of Abrac. This is a very special and unique book. I mean, it's unlike anything you would have read about summoning spirits and ritual magic and so on and so forth. Now, in the vast majority, the books that you can find online or in bookstores about magic and ritual practices and the Goetia and angels and demons do tend to underline the fact that everybody can do it. It's so easy. You can be a magician in your spare time. You just have to read this book and visualize this and do that, and you can be a witch and you can be a magician and you can initiate yourself in the golden dawn, and you can just go into the in a spare room of your house and summon demons. This is not such a book. This is a very serious treatise of um, practical demonology. The author does not come from this sensationalistic point of view where you can summon the demons and you can gain everything you wished for and you can become a living god and all sorts of crap. He actually is a very down to earth individual who treats Solomonic practical magic very seriously and very scientifically, perhaps, because the first part of the book is just this, is the science of reality. He actually takes a very old experiment, the anointing of the thumb, which is a very well known magical experiment coming from, I believe, Babylonian. And the magician is used to uses a razor to clean his nail, his thumbnail, and gaze into the thumbnail, and he would have contact with the princes of the thumbnail, which is he uses the surface of his nail, the reflective surface of his nail, to contact some spiritual or demonic princes. Now he actually goes a bit into detail, and into detail he goes because once you are requested to gaze at your own fingernail, you are supposed to find the hidden meanings in the surface of your own nail, and you're supposed to see the reflective surface and then go deeper to the atomic level. And after you take full consciousness of the uh, different strata of keratin that make up your nail, you are supposed to go deeper and acknowledge the existence of the carbon atoms. And from the existence of the carbon atoms, you're supposed to, go deeper in the intranuclear level, where there are neutrinos and other subatomic particles that make up a whole nother universe and stuff like this. It is absolutely fascinating. So in this world of many possibilities, also the possibility of a spiritual world exists, and not only high spiritual world, but also a very immediate spiritual world where these spirits reside. So they are listed as infernal spirits, terrestrial spirits, and celestial spirits, and they are dealt with accordingly. Also, this is the first book in which an account of the spirits of the Teurgia Goetia, second book of the Lamageddon, is being treated and is being dealt with, where the cardinal emperors are discussed and their seals are discussed and their abilities. And then we go, of course, to the 72 spirits of Goetia, which admittedly uh, they're sometimes coupled with historical entities that might be surprising. Now, this is the most problematic part of the book for me because for some people, the associations with certain historical figures or certain literary devices, or sometimes older gods from other mythologies might prove problematic. But this is the contents and the charm of the book, because you don't find these things anywhere. It's highly interesting. This is a practical approach of a person who actually did the rituals and um, presumably had contact with these entities. Now, I'm not saying these are real. I'm not saying these are fantasy, but for now, we work in a paradigm in which the author is exploring these entities and these realities with a good heart and good faith, and is reporting these findings back to us. So, if we do not like the fact that the Egyptian god Horus is identified with the Goetic being Horus, then that is that is kind of our problem. So it doesn't affect him or his interactions with these spirits. Now, if he identifies the prophet Balaam from the Bible with the spirit Balaam, it's his, of course, is it's his choice. And of course, if he identifies the spirit Volak with a ruler of my country, namely Vlad the Impaler, because he was a Valachian and the name Valak sounds like Volak, that is kind of my problem. So it's not his problem. I, of course, have some problems um, making connections with some of the spirits he lists and some of the characteristics he says they have. Like, I believe Vasago is linked to Vishnu. Some of these spirits are indeed linked to Indian deities or Greek deities or African orishas, and for the time they were redacted and written, they were, I believe, groundbreaking. But ever since then, there have been a lot of manuscripts found and a lot of work done on the constitution of the Liber Officiorum Spiritum. So although the author insists that in each of the seals of the Goetic spirits, of the spirits of the Goetia, not of the Goetic spirits, because that's a different thing. They're encoded, their names or their rank or their planet or their number. I do believe that there's some wishful thinking when it comes to seeing the numbers of the spirits in the seals, but that again is my own problem, and it has no bearing whatsoever on the validity of the information contained in this book. And for example, we know that the original makeup of the book of offices of spirits, it's not going from spirit 1 to spirit 72 in a row without any reason. We actually have a very good structure, as Johann Vierius might call it, the Pseudomonarchia Demonum, which is listed in the copy of the Liber Officiorum Spirituum from the Book of Oberon and other similar books. Like, we have the four emperors of the four regions, much like the Theurgia Goetia, and then we have the kings under them and the presidents and earls and knights and so forth. But the most important thing is that each of the cardinal kings has 24 spirits under him. So in total, that makes 100 spirits. Although they don't have the seals described, And although the older versions of the Libero Ficiorum Spiritum, like the Medici manuscript, does list a few seals, but they're totally different from the ones we can find in the Goetia. I believe it tells us that we have to study that system more, and we have to pay attention to that. And I do appreciate John's efforts to put everything in order, but I highly doubt that the numbering of 1 to 72 is actually encoded or embedded in the spirit seal. It's okay to see that, it's okay to use that as a mental aid or help of some kind to be able to connect with the idea of the spirit, but in my view, it has nothing to do with it. As you know, I am against the idea of the Shem HaMeforesh. I am against the idea that the spirits of the Goetia have their opponent spirits in the angels of the Shem HaMeforesh. I believe there are two different systems that were crumpled together and forced to kiss, like some child makes two dolls kiss each other. And I believe that there are two completely different systems and use two completely different sets of entities. This being said, you can buy John's book from Lulu for very, very cheap. It won't be as handsome as this, of course, because this is my own and you're not allowed to have it. But please, please do buy his book. It's a kind of a big book. It's a very big book. It has about 400 pages. So when it comes to quantity over quality, this is just a huge benefit. It costs very little, and you can buy it from Lulu. And I believe it had me for about 2 weeks just reading daily. This is a book that actually made me read again because I was going on a downward spiral when it comes to reading, and this helped me a lot because I was so interested in doing this review for you. But I had to bind the book and read it first before I could present it to you. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back another time with an episode on the magical ink, or the ink made from cinnabar. One part will be for everybody and one part will be for Patreon, where it deals with the hidden properties of the ink of cinnabar. Also, join my Patreon if you want to see my weekly updates and translations about spirits and demons and talismans, because I'm more active there lately than my own blog. But I will keep the blog updated as well. Thank you so much, and thank you, John, for agreeing to have this book printed and bound and reviewed by me. It was a true honor.